Hey, welcome back to Score on Business. So we were talking about how to prevent workplace violence, and you were just about to start to talk about culture.
Yeah, culture is the most important thing that you can do that you have control over, at least some control over. And the higher up you are in the organization, the more control that you have. And it starts with the person or people at the top. And if they create a caring, compassionate, respectful organizational culture, the chances of violence in that culture are going to be greatly diminished. On the other hand, if they're abusive, if they're bullying, even though they have wonderful people below them, that puts stress on those people, and they're more likely to model that behavior. If those people at the top tolerate threatening, abusive, bullying behavior, maybe because those people that do that make the most money, which is often the case, then that's going to diminish the culture, and it's going to damage it, and it's going to increase the probability of violence in those organizations. So organizations can do culture audits. They can do anonymous culture audits and put out a survey and ask, how, a number of questions that gives you a feel for what the culture is like. Is it respectful? Do I feel valued here? Do I have the tools that I need to do my job? And so that can go a long way in preventing any kind of threats or concerning behavior.
The behavior at the top seems to go down.
Yep.
So that's probably one of the biggest things.
It's the biggest thing that we have control over, for sure.
Interesting.
And a lot of times you're talking about small companies.
Yeah.
A lot of small companies take pride in having sort of that family atmosphere. We know everybody. We go to parties together. We socialize together. And then they start to grow. And then that sort of gets dispersed. And it's harder to control that culture. But we've had clients that really, no matter how big they get, they work hard to maintain that culture of respect.
It can absolutely be done. I have a lot of business leaders here. There's a lot of talk about culture, and it can be done if it's a priority and you use best practices.
That's right.
So, what policies should companies have, and what should those include?
Well, all companies, no matter what size, need to have an anti-harassment policy that includes all types of harassment, sexual harassment, racial, all the EEOC protected categories of harassment, and could include bullying as well. And they also need to have a workplace violence policy. Most companies nowadays, I noticed when I came in the studio here, it says no guns allowed on premises. It's a good idea unless you're working in a weapons manufacturing company or wherever, to have that as a policy. And premises also means the parking lot too. And then it also, workplace violence policy also discerns what is prohibited behavior. So it would have things like bullying. It would have things like threatening behavior. It would spell out, definitions of what threatening behavior is, and these are things that we don't tolerate.
I think that, and touching back for the smaller companies that are our primary audience here, there are plenty of HR folks that do that for small companies.
Yes, and if you don't have a policy, you need to get one. Because if somebody violates a policy and you fire them, I mean, why are you firing me? I didn't do anything wrong. Right? And there are plenty of also workplace violence. All of these policies you can find online. Society for Human Resources Management has examples. American Society of Industrial Security has, samples. So there's plenty of ways to get your hands on sample policies too.
And one thing you said made me think back to giving a severance package and trying to terminate them in a respectful way. You're also less likely to get sued if you do that.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's not violence, but the treating people respectfully almost it pays off.
But a lot of people, we use that term respect, but it means different things to different people. And sometimes when you're coaching somebody, you say you treated her disrespectfully, you treated him disrespectfully, and you need to stop it. That doesn't tell you anything.
How would you, okay, so somebody is being mean to someone. How would you describe that when you
I would
talk
have to
them?
describe the behavior. I would
Yeah.
have to say, Pete, when she did not turn your report in on
Right.
time, what I noticed you did
Yeah.
was you pushed your chair back, you stood up
Yeah.
very firmly, you pointed your finger at her, and you raised your voice at her. Did you notice her response when you did
Yeah.
that? Well, no, I didn't. I saw her eyes get really big. She looked really scared. Is that the impact you wanted to have? If you say, yeah, I wanted to intimidate her, we got another conversation.
Right.
But at least I've called you on your specific behavior.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So you've kind of touched on this. How can culture help prevent violence?
Well, one way, and this is a big one, is that people aren't afraid to speak up.
Yeah.
And where we find a lot of violence occurs, and we did this through a lot of research, even in the school systems, in businesses and organizations, when people are afraid to say something, when something disturbing happens, that disturbing behavior continues and it continues to escalate. Even if it's somebody higher up, that I know that optimally I could go to my vice president and say, when you said that to me, I felt disrespected. Or when you did that, when you stormed out of the meeting, people felt deflated that you didn't value them. If I can say that, no matter who it is in the organization, that's going to create a respectful culture where people receive feedback.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much for being here,
You're
David.
so welcome. My pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and we will see you all next week.